Oh, did you want to go with us?
You are so presumptuous. A daughter-in-law isn't my family. I would never take you on a family.
My mother-in-law mocked me.
Have you forgotten why you're here? You're the housekeeper. You're supposed to take care of my mother.
My husband smirked at the comment.
You don't even work but only want fun. You're too naive to think life is that simple. Haven't you grown up yet? You should at least take good care, grandmother. Have fun.
And then my husband and I went on a 1-week trip to the Bahamas with my mother. They left me and my grandmother-in-law, who was injured and needed nursing care. In addition to taking care of her, I had to take up all the household chores at my in-laws' house. I felt a sense of helplessness. I wasn't a maid or nurse. Why should I be treated like this? With bottled up anger, I went to my grandmother's room. But as soon as I opened the door,
How did you find out about us?
I was incapacitated by the shock. My grandmother-in-law was supposed injured and unable to stand up, but standing up firmly on both feet. She walked up to me with steady step on a beautiful smile.
Let's show these two what we can do.
My name is Beth. I used to work as a caregiver. I quit my job to become a housewife, got married. I had just returned home from shopping, put my bags down on the table when it vibrated. It was an incoming call from Adam, my husband. He should have been at work, but it was strange for him to call me. I answered the phone, feeling a little uneasy.
Hello, honey. What's going on?
Oh, man, you know what?
I got a little upset by what he said. I was taken aback to hear that such an energetic woman had slipped and fallen down while taking the stairs. Even though she was healthy, she was old. I didn't know the extent of her injuries. There was a good chance that she might be bedridden from now on. I knew she might need nursing care, but I never expected it to be so soon.
My mom will take care of her until she gets better, but it's gonna be hard for her to do it alone, you know? So I'd like you to stay with them until time.
My mother-in-law, Kathy, lived with us. She had no experience in nursing Carmi, so they thought it would be more reassuring to have me there. I had often visited my in-laws' house and interacted with Maggie. Whenever I saw her, she was always and made me feel at ease. I liked her very much. If there was anything I could do when I was going to help, I eagerly agreed to Adam's proposal. The next day, I went to my in-laws alone. Adam had to work, so I was the only staying with them. I looked up at the magnificent gate that I must have passed through many times. I had never paid much attention to. My in-laws' house was a grand, colorful mansion. The yard was beautifully landscaped with large pine trees and autumn leaves. When I thought about staying there months, it made me a little nervous. I realized that visiting and living in a house was completely different. As I walked the path leading up to door, I took a deep breath.
Welcome, Beth. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be of your...
Kathy greeted me at the door. I had a bit of a hard time with her. She had two sides, and if she didn't something, she got into a bad mood. I had kept a distance from her, ever gave me a sarcastic remark.
How's Maggie doing?
She seems fine, to the point I'm annoyed.
After exchanging a few words, she answered with a laugh about Maggie. I knew she was joking, but I sensed in her words and felt a prickle in stomach. I wasn't a fan of her after all. I wanted to get away from her as soon possible.
I think she's in her room. Why don't you go and see her?
I gladly took her suggestion.
Hi, Maggie.
Oh, Beth, I'm so sorry it's become such a deal.
I was a little relieved to see her in bed, looking as healthy as ever. But the cast from her waist to her looked painful. According to her, when she slipped on her buttocks and broke the base thigh. When I worked at a nursing home, I care of a patient who had the same. I remembered how hard and painful it was for the patient to move around.
If there is anything I can do to you, please let me know. 33.
Don't worry too much. Just make you home.
I took her hands, and she returned my gentle smile. About a month after I moved into my in-laws' house, I was sitting on the couch with my husband when he suddenly asked me if I had ever heard of the Iowa Bermuda Trianglia.
Hey, Beth, there's a lot of raw gar the bin. I told you to keep it clean.
Kathy yelled at me from the porch with hanging the sheets in the yard. I was completely exhausted. In addition to taking care of Maggie, I became responsible for all the housework there. Within 3 days of my arrival, Kathy it and threw it at me.
Well, why don't you do it? I'm busy now.
I talked back to her. By the time I realized what I had done, it was too late. She snickered and started ranting.
How dare you talk to me like that when you're staying at my house? Don't you have manners? Oops, my mouth slipped.
If I raised even one protest, she came with twice as much sarcasm. I, of course, stood my ground at first, but I grew tired of arguing after going through it every day.
Since you married into my family, duty to serve us, are you saying something wrong? I don't know.
She continued until I admitted my fault.
Yes, you're right. I was wrong.
I said the usual words. Okay, good. She walked away toward room. I had just finished most of my chores and was about to take a break when I received a call. I looked at the name and sighed for the unknown times.
Hey, why haven't you done my laundry?
Adam's angry shout came from the phone. Not only Kathy, but I had another call exhaustion. It was my husband. He stayed at home because of his con, which meant that there were chores needed to be attended to there as sick. In addition to taking care of Maggie, I had to take care of everyone's chores. It wasn't like he couldn't cook or do laundry. In fact, for a while, after we were married, he sometimes took the initiative in housework. He became completely dependent on me. He wasn't pleased with my answer and his voice even more.
What do you mean, stay-at-home wife? You got all the time in the world. Why can't you even do this?
He put himself on the back burner, blaming it all on me. The way he said it was just like Kat had lost all energy to talk back to him. I moved the noisy phone away from my hung up on him and then threw it or couch in a fit of anger. At that moment, the door opened one and peeked out. I stiffened, expecting her to say,
I'm going out for a while. You stay.
Sure.
And as soon as she said it, she was, ever since I came here, I felt that been going out more often. I wondered if it was to force me to housework. I was also fed up with myself for thinking negatively like this in those days. No matter how busy I was, neither Kay Adam helped me. On the contrary, they complained to me. I felt low from their uncaring attitude. Only Maggie, who could not move, worried about me. Though I was exhausted both mentally and physically, there was something about it that kept me going. Maggie's leg was gradually getting. The part she broke could have made her bedridden if unlucky. She had been going to rehab regular. Her leg was getting better little by. I felt very relieved seeing her like, "Thank you for everything. It's all you." On the way back from the hospital, thanking me fervently, and I was uncomfortable.
No, not at all, but I'm glad you are better.
The sun shined on my hands as I gripped steering wheel. It was a nice, sunny day the first time. Maybe I should have her take it to the porch. I didn't really understand what she was saying at that time. 3 months have passed since I started staying with my in-laws. I finished putting away the dishes. I emerged into the living room where Path was sitting. She had a large suitcase open and was humming a tune.
Hey, Kathy. Kathy, what's going on?
She stopped packing and looked at me.
In the Bahamas tomorrow.
Pardon me?
I thought I had misheard her, so I back. She must have been in a good mood because she said, again, Bahamas, Bahamas, and started packing her bags. It was unusual for her to go out, but going abroad was completely out of the question. She should have at least consulted with me beforehand, she said, without even looking at me. Take care of my mother, okay? I kept my mouth shut. It didn't matter what I said to her. Besides, even if she was at home, she would take care of Maggie or do the household chores. It made no difference. If anything, I felt better for not deal with her usual sarcasm. I wanted her to leave as soon as possible. I drifted off to sleep, complaining. The next morning, I heard someone knocking at the door, and then the living room opened.
Mom, are you ready?
Adam, I've been waiting for you.
I heard his name and came out of the in surprise.
Honey, what are you doing here?
For some reason, he was standing there. It was a weekday, and he should have worked by now.
Hey, do you know about the trip to the Bahamas?
Yeah, I know, but why are you here?
Well, I'm going with my mom.
What?
He said it so matter-of-factly that it absolutely stunned me. Kathy must have misunderstood my surprise and smirked at me.
Oh, perhaps you wanted to go with. You're so presumptuous. You have my take care of. Have you forgotten what you came here? You're my daughter-in-law. You take care of my family.
Adam, who apparently took her words, also grimaced at me.
You haven't been doing much housework and have been really useless. You don't even do your duty, but you want to have fun. You're ridiculous. At least take care of my grandma pro. You used to be a pro.
No.
I didn't know where to begin my argument, so I resorted to sarcastic comments and accusations. Still, I had to say something. When I opened my mouth, Kathy looked at me and exclaimed, "We're running out of time!"
Well then, take care of my grandma.
The two of them hurried to the front. I naturally followed them, but they closed in front of me mercilessly. The hallway was darkened with the heavy thud. I stood there looking at the clothes. I wondered if Adam had been planning his trip while I had been busy being an assistant. I did all the housework, cared for, and everything else, and they went trip. I was fed up with their ludicrously insensitive attitudes. They accused me of slacking on my They put everything on me. They forced me to care for Maggie, who should have been the ones to do so. They abandoned and left a disabled family member behind. I tried to suppress my uncontrollable urge to scream by clenching my fists. I took a deep breath and calmed my to go crazy. I had to prepare Maggie's meal. I headed for the kitchen in despair. I put the meal on a tray and went to my room. It wasn't that I didn't want to take her. I liked her and enjoyed making small complaints to each other. What I didn't like was the attitude and Adam. They imposed various things on me as was normal. It pissed me off. I shook my head to shake off the anger. I knocked and opened the door. She was up on the bed, stretching.
Good morning, Beth.
Good morning. You seem to be in good spirits this morning.
I saw her grinning meaningfully and put down the tray on the bedside table. I returned a curious gaze. She stuck her legs out of the bed and stood up quickly in a huff.
What the?
I was startled. I knew her leg was recovering well, was still supposedly difficult to sew herself. She stood up smoothly and without any hindrance. Looking at my face, she laughed like who had successfully pulled a prank.
How do you?
I used to compete as a high school in track and field.
I still couldn't understand what she was trying to say. She saw my puzzled expression and what had happened. Track and field was her passion when she was younger, and she spent all her spare time training. Leg injuries were almost a daily okay back then. So she knew what to do when she got Thanks to her precise initial response, the injury did not worsen, and she recovered faster than usual. In addition to having trained her muscles well from a young age, she still takes on a daily basis. She must have maintained her strengths. No wonder her legs and back were strong. Remembering how she always walked with such beautiful posture, I was oddly convinced that she had been a dancer in her youth.
I was bored, just laying still in bed, so I was doing rehabilitation secretly.
She had recently regained her ability after a diligent routine. Of course, she was also doing it at hospital, but it was not enough for her active, always on the attitude is so much like hers that I couldn't help but laugh. She suddenly made a serious express walk toward me.
I'm very sorry not only about taking me, but also dealing with Kathy and Adam's attitude. I am truly sorry.
She gave me a tight hug. I flustered and said, "Please don't." I was angry at those two, but that was something that Maggie should have apologized for. Besides, I really enjoyed hanging out with her.
So, let me return the favor.
I heard that before. I tilted my head, not understanding meant, and Maggie held out her hand.
What goes around comes. Let those two have it.
She was looking at me with a wonder on her face. She was right. There was no point in arguing with them. The treatment I received was absurd and unreasonable. Then, of course, I had the right to retaliate. The anger that I had tried so hard to suppress just a few minutes ago, well, it was back. If I was bullied, I would retaliate double the payback. I muttered this to myself and took as she held it out to me. A week has passed since then. It was a cloudless, calm afternoon. Phone vibrated. Knowing who it was, I answered it while checking the screen.
Hey, what's going on here?
I laughed at the voice and the quest as I had expected them to be.
What are you talking about?
I knew exactly why he sounded so angry. Still, I asked deliberately.
Why is my grandma's house up for sale?
Adam yelled over the phone. A little further away, I heard Kathy. Hearing her, my smile widened even. After Maggie and I colluded, she took immediate action. First, she called her lawyer and asked if she had prepared. Her assets that were supposed to be by Kathy and Adam were going to the children's sports charity. Her retaliation did not end there. On the same day, she changed her will and went to a real estate agent to put her house up for sale. I was shocked by this, but she told me that her next residence had already been arranged. She planned to live alone in an apartment with a helper until she could find a nursing home. I vividly remembered her smiling with a refreshed expression. She did all this during the week Kat and Adam were gone. Perhaps she had been preparing it for a long time. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone so. She couldn't bear to see her daughter and grandson behaving as they did.
Maggie's moved out. 33.
What the hell? Why?
Well, I think she got tired of you leaving everything to me.
Adam was annoyed by my nonchalance to burst into anger.
It's you, isn't it? You said some here, didn't you? You don't even work, and you think smart. You're just a wife who fails to do. You're supposed to do. You pull this stupid shit.
His angry voice overlapped with Kathy's scream. That was when my anger reached a boiling point.
Who's pulling the stupid shit?
Startled by my sudden outburst, their confusion seeped through the phone.
You're the ones who are running away from your responsibilities. Who do you think you are putting it on my shoulders? I'm not your servant or housekeeper.
I slammed the words at him like a punch in the face. He seemed to be searching for words to say something, but not a single C.
And by the way, I am divorcing you. I have grown tired of you too.
I said it in a way that I really did not like about him. What is the difference between a web page and a website? When Maggie and I visited her lawyer, consulted him about my divorce, I hung up the phone to ignore him, ranting nonsense. Then I blocked his number. When I finished my work and took a Maggie, who was sitting on the brand sofa, laughed.
I hope I've repaid the favor.
I turned my body toward her and smiled radiantly.
Yes, for sure.
After that, Adam and Kathy lived I-Toy, the small apartment where he and I live. Kathy, who appeared to be counting on Maggie's inheritance, refused to work. Adam's salary wasn't so great, but his expenses were still the same, and he fought every day. They tried to borrow money from Relic, but Maggie had already laid the groundwork. No one wanted to help them. Sometime later, I encountered a little incident. When I was shopping at the local soup, I heard yelling. I was astounded to see what was going on in the crowd. There was Kathy arguing with another customer. She was just about to grab the security guard who was trying to stop her. I saw her fall down, but I don't know what happened afterwards. I wasn't interested, and I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore. Rumor has it that she broke her bone, needs care, but she has no one and wit's end. Furthermore, I found out that Adam paid family leave to go to the Bahamas. I don't know where the leak came from or how it got into his office. His colleagues still look at him with awe. He failed to find a new job and is working at the same office, feeling of himself. And as for me, I am still learning. My divorce was finalized without... I have a new job as a caregiver in a nursing home near my house. Maggie now lives at the facility. She is spending her days fully. There are always a lot of people. She is very active and friendly and popular there. I even envy her a little. She notices me and beckons me over. Smile. I smile back and head over to her. Of the new days ahead.